Hello, it's Bob Pandolfo, and I'm going to talk a little bit about handicapping, harness racing. I'm going to show a horse that raced on Saturday, February 19th, 2022 at the Meadowlands. This horse's name is Palomar. You can see him right here. Um, now, and this is a horse I put on top, paid 5 to 2 odds, paid $7.40. So you can see here that he was claimed by the Colorful Barn here on February 5th. He moved into a non-winners of 7,500, which was a drop in class, and he finished third. In this particular race from Saturday night, he was moving up in class to non-winners of 10,500, and he followed cover from post two here, and he won, paid $7.40. But I want to show something here. Um, I know I made some changes in my own handicapping 3 years ago because I wasn't satisfied with the results I was getting. Even at the Meadowlands, where I've been handicapping for the United States Training Association for many years, I just felt, harness racing has changed over the years. And if you read my columns, what I think about the Sulkies. So because of that, because of the more speed favoring nature of the game, you have to make adjustments. You can't handicap harness racing now the way you did years ago. Like when I first started betting the horses and handicapping, it was around 1971, and I really got into it, a few years after that as a profession, and 1975, and then I really, handicapped a lot of races. But let's just look at Palomar. Right now, that I've said that the bikes that we use nowadays are longer than the old bikes used to be. They're faster than the old bikes used to be, and the drivers lean back. Consequently, when horses race off the pace now, they are at a tremendous disadvantage. Even if they get second over trip, they're at a disadvantage a lot of times, unless the flow is very, very strong. And of course, you have the pace to factor in too. So you look at this horse, Palomar. Now it shows here that he's about 8 lanes back at the half, 7 3/4. And then if you notice, it looks like he gained 2 lanes when he made this 3 wide move, but they have him as eighth. So, it looks like he really didn't gain much ground. And then in the stretch, he's coming on gamely. Well, first of all, these lanes that they show here in the past performances, I'm sorry to say, a lot of times they're not that accurate anymore. The guys who are calling the charts a lot of times still call a length and a quarter in between each horse, but it's really like a length and 3/4 because of the lean back, the way the drivers lean back, and then the longer bikes. I used to call charts back when I worked for Sportseye years ago. And if you really want to see the real lengths, you have to look at the Trackus chart, the tracks that use Trackus, the automatic like electronic timer. And if you look at Mohawk and you look at Hoosier Park, for instance, you'll see that you don't see horses eighth, 5 3/4 lanes behind that often. They're further behind because they're using Trackus, which is more accurate. So you'll see horses sometimes at Hoosier Park and Mohawk that are 15, 16, 17 lanes behind, especially from the outside post. So you have to take that consideration. I mean, especially if you're just using the past performances and you're not watching the races. But I just know instinctively that when I see a line like this, that this was a much tougher trip than you might think. I mean, it's basically impossible. Like it's basically impossible for this horse to win this race. I mean, because look at the time, right? Now this is a non-winner of 7,500 he was in, and the half was 55 seconds, and that's not that fast. It may look. I think people think it's fast, but nowadays the races are so fast. That's actually pretty modest. And the reason why you see some slower times here is because it was colder nights. It's during the winter. Obviously during the summer they go faster, but 55 is, it's I guess about average. It's definitely not fast, that's for sure. And you could see that then in the last half they started to go faster. So you have a 28-1 third quarter, and then the last quarter was fast. As you could see, he had to come home in 27-3, and just to finish third. These horses, unless you have like an unbelievable fast pace, and if you're sitting 8 lanes back, and like I said, he's probably more like 10, 11 lanes back, if you're sitting, seventh, eighth at the half, unless there's like a blistering pace, you're not going to win. Even at the Meadowlands with the long stretch, you're just not going to win, unless the horse is an absolute monster, has a huge class edge. So you have to take that into consideration when you're handicapping. Um, I looked at this race and I thought that's a really good race, right? Because he's in an impossible spot. He has no chance to win, and he rallies from eighth to third, misses by less than 2 lengths. Obviously, if he gets a better post, he's going to have a really good chance to win. So he got post 2. He stepped up in class, didn't make any difference. He won easily, paid $740 from off the pace. So, keep an eye on these horses that have outside post and have this kind of line where they're seventh, they're sixth, they're eighth, they're far back basically, and they come on pretty good, and then they move inside to an inside post. Now it didn't hurt that this horse Palomar is a nice horse. I mean, you could see, he's got a little bit of class. When he was a 5-year-old, he went 148.4 here. He's a nice horse. I mean, obviously you have to take into consideration the class and all that kind of thing too. But I'm just saying, this kind of line, I mean, you could actually do, play spot bets at harness racing where you just play horses that were racing off the pace from an outside post and now move inside and, race fairly well. That would be a good spot play system, because what happens a lot of times too is the drivers, let's just say that now this particular horse had post 2 the time before, but let's just say that a horse had like outside post 3 or 4 straight races. Like you'll see this a lot of times on a half-mile track where a horse gets post 6, post 7, post 8, and then he gets post 2. And the driver's been driving all along, and he's had absolutely no chance to win because he had like post 6, 7, and 8 on half-mile tracks are dead. 7 and 8 are totally dead. Post 6 is pretty much dead unless the horse is a really good lever. So the driver basically has driven this horse in 3 straight races, right? If he has post 6, 7, and 8 on a half-mile track without any chance to win. Now the horse gets post 2. So the driver knows, geez, these owners, they're paying the bills here. They just had 3 bad posts in a row. They can't make any money. So I really got to get this. I got to give this horse a shot. So he's going to go all out to win that race. And I'm not trying to say the drivers aren't always all out, but in other words, just as a professional, these drivers know that they have to make money for the owners, and they have to drive for the bettors. I mean, they're driving for both, and the trainers, of course, and themselves. They're actually driving for 4 different entities: the owner, the trainers, themselves. Try to make as much money as they can. So I mean, they know, wow, I got a good post out. I got to try to win this race for these owners. So, normally when these horses move inside, they're going to be live. And like I said, the outside in, that's a good angle. And watch these horses, these lines are misleading. This was a very strong race by this horse. A lot of people probably looked at this and said, yeah, it's a pretty good race. No, actually it was a very strong race because the horse had absolutely no chance to win. And he's coming on like gangbusters from an impossible spot. He didn't even have good cover or anything. He didn't have a good pace set up. And then he moves inside and he wins. So it's something to keep in mind. I'm going to have more handicapping tips for you going forward. I'm going to make more videos up. But this is Bob Pandolfo, and thanks for listening.